right, so I got HX Edit open. First thing I want to do is make sure my first path is running into my second path. So right there. Next, I'm going to pick an amp, moon, jump, and let's see what we got. Okay, we're going to keep the cab at the default settings, but this is a little more drive than what I want. So bring that down to 2.3 for the bright drive. The normal drive we'll bring down to 1.8. But when you dig in, you get just that breakup, just a little bit there. And this might not be for everyone, but I like to crank the mids way up. So mids to 10, master, I'm going to crank up to 10 as well. The bias, going to jump down to set at 6.8, and bias X will go to 10. So yeah, I feel like that's just enough dirt. Give us some dynamics and that sort of thing. All right, next up, let's give it some reverb. Go stereo, Hot Springs, but that's way too much. Although I do like a bit more decay. The mix I'm going to bring way down to about 16%. Those are the only two things I'm going to change there. All right, let's do a compressor at the end. I know everybody has their own preference, whether you do the beginning or the end. And I do it whichever way I feel like it. So I encourage you to do the same. We'll just go with 50% on the LA Studio Comp. All right, and let's see here. What's next? Okay, so I think to start dialing in our ambient part of this preset, we'll go and slap a dynamic hall reverb, because that's basically instant ambience. But we're gonna put the decay first at 12 seconds. And we're going to make a couple other changes here too. So room size, I'm going to switch to 30 meters, I guess is what that is. Diffusion, we're going to crank it up to 100%. Dampening, we'll bump it to about 4.0 kilohertz. And mix, I want to bring down just a smidge to 33%. So yeah, got a nice long tail on that. Speaking of which, we'll turn the trails on. And then a couple tweaks here that may not make sense. But I kind of thought this was kind of cool if you listen closely. I brought the low frequency all the way down to 20 hertz, and then the low gain I'm going to boost up to 3 decibels. I'm going to add plus 3 decibels, I guess. The low cutoff, we're going to turn it off. And the high cut will bring down to about 4.9 kilohertz. So there we go, some pretty good ambience there. But I want to add a little bit of delay to that as well. So I'm going to do a stereo delay block. We'll go with the simple delay. And I usually like to sync my notes. So we'll put the note sync at a quarter note. And the mix will bring down to 17% or so. And the scale to up to 95%. And switch on the trails. And next thing we're going to do is drag that down to path 2 and move that before the compressor. So. Yeah, so. Probably bring that mix up a little bit. I want like a subtle delay, nothing too crazy. I want the reverb to be doing most of the work for the ambience. Yeah, cool. All right, so that's kind of pretty much what our bass is going to be for our ambient sound. So I think now we'll just start working on some lo-fi stuff. All right, so for lo-fi, I think what we'll first do is make some changes to the amp. Actually, before we do that, all right, so we're going to drop a vintage swell mono delay block here, vintage swell. And we'll set the note sync to 1/8 notes. Bit depth, we'll bring it to 10. Sample rate, bring that way down. And a mix down to 24%. Threshold, where's that? At -82. And then attack we'll bring up a bit to 1.7. And here we get some. Now, if you don't like the noise in there, and you just want an ambient sound, I would bring the bit depth up and probably set your sample rate to default. And that's much cleaner. But we're doing lo-fi, so bring in the noise. All right, bypass that for now. All right, the next lo-fi changes we're going to make will be on our amp. So we're going to keep the drives the same, mids, master, that's all going to stay the same. But what we're going to do here is, let's see, press S on the keyboard to assign it to a snapshot or make it snapshot enabled. And we're going to crank that up to 10. S again. So that was cranking sag up to 10. Hum, if you're listening, if you can hear this on headphones or something, you'll hear that hum come in. And then ripple, we will also press S and crank it up to 10. Now, we got a considerable more amount of grit. that's pretty cool. So yeah, you can either assign those to snapshots, or you can also assign them sag, hum, and ripple. You can assign those to foot switches as well. Done it both ways. Depends on what you're after. Really there. Okay, so the next thing we want to get added is where we get some even more lo-fi stuff going on. Let's put a legacy low-res delay. So under delay blocks, we're going to look at legacy, and low-res is where we're going. And you can hear that bring in some noise right away. And we'll make that dotted eighth notes. Feedback we'll leave at default tone. Let's bring it down a bit. 21. Mix we're gonna bring up to 75%. And trails we want them on. And you can probably bring that feedback up a bit. You want to be careful with the feedback on this one. You can get to like a crazy oscillation, and stuff can get out of control pretty quick with the low res. But that's also one of the cool things about it. All right, next up, I want to add a transistor tape delay. It'll be stereo. And there you are. Okay, and this, I'm just going to leave that. I'm not going to note sync that at all, but I will bring down the headroom, like all the way down. And wow in Flutter, let's bring it way up. Let's say, yeah, 9.2. Let's also turn the trails on. Yeah, so now we're getting a whole lot of noise and grit and nastiness into our lo-fi sound here. I'm going to do another delay block. This one's going to go up on the first path here. I think we'll put it right after that delay. All right, this can also be mono. We'll go Cosmos Echo. And I'm going to sync that to quarter notes. The ramp, I'm going to bring it all the way down. Mix to 20%. And splice all the way up. And trails on. All right, now let's see. That's pretty sweet. Digging that. The one last thing I want to do is get some modulation in here. Let's go with a retro reel and Flutter. Wow and Flutter will bring up to 5.1. Saturation, I'm going to leave that down. So I feel like we're getting enough grit and dirt from everything else. But of course you can experiment with that. Low cut, I'm going to roll off a little bit. We'll say about 50 hertz. And high cut, let's bring it way down to go 900 hertz or so. I don't really have any scientific reason for why I'm choosing these numbers other than I like the way it sounds. So, and I do feel like you lose a bit with this one in overall volume. So bump up the level about 4 dB, and here we go.